the shadow of the mighty oaks, thousands came to discuss how to rid our country from its shame. They knew the evils of the chains. Thousands of Americans forced to become slaves didn't match with the Constitution, which guaranteed every man would be free. They called themselves Republican in this little town of Jackson, and they knew their fight for this worthy cause would change the nation's fate. They took an oath for unity, and that passion still remains today. Many fights have been won, but many more are still to come. We know it won't be easy to defend this land of the free. The Jackson County Republicans stand together. We are JXNGOP.
Hello, everybody. I'm Russ Jennings, the chairman of the Jackson Republican Party, and this is the Under the Oaks podcast. This is a monthly podcast that we release the last Wednesday of every month to bring you updates of everything going on with the Jackson GOP. And just to let everybody know, we try to change up host. Today I'm your host. I think last month I was your host. We've had hosts like Marcy Jankovic and Chris Baird. I'm doing the July show. This is pre-recorded, so if you hear me talk about something in present day, please bear with me. It's difficult to remember that this is released the last Wednesday of every month. We like to bring on different guests, and we have a guest here today, and I'm going to introduce her right now, the Jackson County Prosecutor Kelsey Guernsey. How are you, Kelsey?
I'm great. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing pretty good. Kelsey, I always say this, I am an early bird.
Yeah.
I'm a 6 a.m. guy.
Sure.
But I like slow mornings.
Yeah, all right.
And so 10 o'clock's really not my favorite time.
Sure. I am not a morning bird. I am not an early morning person. But 10 o'clock is, 9 o'clock is usually when my morning meetings start. So
okay.
Yeah.
I like to I like slow mornings.
Sure.
But now if somebody asks me for an appointment time, it's usually 10 o'clock or after.
Yeah,
so it's
that's
not
fair.
like too bad. I do often. I go to the Jackson Chamber Wake Up
Jackson?
Yeah, those are at 7:30.
They are. I have been to a couple of those. They're a struggle for me to get to, but I do make the couple.
And I do the same thing, but I will say I like those.
I do too.
A lot.
I do too.
And
the Chamber does some really good things.
I love our chamber.
They really do some really great things. Ryan's just does a great job over there, and he's got such a great staff. I know.
Do
you see that showcase they're doing in October?
So no.
Yeah, he just put it out yesterday.
Oh.
But it's all members can have kind of a mingling and a get to know you kind of a thing, and then the community can come in. It looks like a really cool event.
Nothing they do is uncool.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
It's amazing. I know their expo's coming up. Their expo's huge. They have a golf outing that I haven't never participated in.
Me neither.
It's one of the best I've heard. They raise a lot of money. I like Ryan too.
I do too.
Wow, did I think Jackson Chamber did lucked out.
Yes.
Scoring Ryan.
I agree.
And the whole staff.
I would say his staff is great, right? Ryan's one person and he leads them well, but man, that staff is great.
It's amazing. But I go to those morning chamber events once a month, and you leave there energized.
You do.
And it's 8:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And boy, I can get my day going there.
Exactly.
So it doesn't. Me being out that early actually is good for my day.
Sure. Well, and this morning I was actually in court at 8:30 this morning. So
really?
I already had 3 court hearings this morning before I got to you. So
how often does the a prosecutor
Yeah.
yourself
Sure.
need to be in the court building,
In the building itself or in the courtrooms?
courtrooms?
Okay, so I mean, in the building, so our offices are in the courthouse. So we're in,
Right.
yeah, I'm in the building every day. But the courtroom itself, prosecutors, there's the elected, you get to pick and choose a little bit what kind of a prosecutor you want to be, right? Some elected prosecutors just do admin stuff. They're not really in the courtroom very often. They might take a case or two here or there. When I was campaigning and elected, I knew I was not ready to hang up the trial heels. I have
Just be
said
an
that.
admin.
Yeah,
Right,
no,
right,
that
right.
was not going to be my jam. I love trial work. I love trying cases. I love being in the courtroom. So one of the cool things as the elected is I get to pick and choose which cases I want to work on.
Now, your admin side of that prevents you from being able to do that maybe as much as you would like.
Indeed, yes.
Sure.
And
'Cause
sometimes
the admin side's got to be huge.
it's a lot. I have a staff of 20 plus, and making sure everybody's okay. And in our world, we have a lot of things that come up that are fairly emergent, right? Things change, things move quickly.
I would
And so I sometimes joke, that I'm really good at putting out the fires. I'm really good at problem solving with my staff to figure out what the issue is and how do we fix it. But my chief assistant is phenomenal at the admin side as well. And he
Okay.
and I really think really similarly, and so
you don't have to worry about his admin
exactly
decisions.
never.
Right.
So usually when one of us is working on more cases, the other one is more admin, and we try to not both be in a big trial or a big case, one or the other. So somebody's always in the office, and somebody's always then can be working on cases. So.
Wow, that's good to know. I go back a couple of prosecutors, and I love the former prosecutor Jerry Jerzinka.
He was so great.
And I guess I don't know his the way he operated. I do remember Hank Zavislak, who was it more of an admin.
Yep.
Because he got his law degree as the sheriff,
Yep.
and never really been in the
Practiced
courtroom.
it. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
But he was a great prosecutor.
He was.
People loved him
He
in
was
Jackson.
so
but he was
beloved,
so
yes.
popular and did such a great job as
Yeah,
a sheriff that
yeah.
it was a natural, good progression for
Sure.
Jackson.
And Jerry tried a handful of cases. He tried a couple each year,
Mm-hmm.
at least throughout his first 2 terms, kind of his third term. I think he was embracing the admin. Though the thing that I can say about Jerry is he was such a good manager of people.
Okay.
As somebody who now sees
he's easy to get along
he's
with.
easy to get along
with getting things done.
Yeah,
too,
you know what though? Us as attorneys, the surprise of nobody or the shock of nobody, we have egos. And anybody who's ever met me, I can be on, a 12 out of a scale of 1 to 10. And I just always remember I would go into his office and I'd be super high on something, and he's such that calming effect, right? And so I would leave his office. I'd be back at it 2. We'd have this resolved. We've got a problem, resolved. We got a plan in place, and then on I go. So I try to channel him a little bit.
He used to come to occasional GOP meetings.
Yeah.
And when he did, whether he gave his report
Yep.
to us or weighing in on
Yep.
whatever it is we were dealing with,
Yeah.
he did have a quiet,
Yep.
calm demeanor
Always,
about him.
always, and so intelligent, so smart, so tapped into what the issue
Yeah.
was, and he always critically thinks so well. But he always stays, at a real even keel, whereas I, can be up at 1,000 at different times. So
I hope he's doing well.
he is. I check in with him every once in a while. I see him around town a little bit. He checks in with me sometimes. I saw this. Well done. So he's around. He's great. I know he's, kind of found his new groove.
Okay.
He's not a person that was going to sit still well.
Sure.
But I know he's got the grandkids and he's loving the retirement.
Since we're talking about that, you were an assistant under Jerry Jerzinka.
I was. Yep,
for
he hired me.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
And how long were you an assistant for him?
10 years.
10 years.
10 years, yep.
10 years an assistant, then he had announced his retirement, and then now here we are with Kelsey Guernsey.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
And I think you probably told me before, and I'd forgotten. I didn't know you had 10 years under Jerry. At the
Yep. So I
prosecutor's
was
office.
10 years in. He hired me in 2014. the fall of 2014, and then I ran, for the fall of 2024. So I was licensed in 2013. I spent about 10 months up in Clare County. That's kind of the only time I've been away from Jackson County outside of school.
And I remember we've talked about it. You've never been in private practice.
Never.
Right.
No, it's always been a prosecutor's office. And I always laugh because I went to law school thinking, you know what, I'll work in wills and estates and that kind of numbers kinds of stuff. And I said, everybody has to die, which might be a morbid thing to think of, but everybody's got, a will and an estate and things, and I make a good career out of it.
Sure you could.
And my first semester of law school, we were already looking at internships for that summer, right? So kind of 3 semesters away. And my criminal law professor said, you need to apply to the Macomb County Prosecutor's Office. And I said, I don't want to do that. I don't want to, that's too theatrical. That's too this, that's too that. I don't want to do that. And she goes, well, you should apply just because it'll be good interviewing practice for you. So I applied. I did the interview. I got offered the internship. I was in that office for 3 hours, and I was like, oh, wait, no, this is what I want to do. And really it was, I was reading through a domestic violence case, and I was like, I can help this victim. I can help her. I can figure out ways to make her world safer and better. And I was like, this is where I belong. And I've never done anything else since.
Not that other prosecutors don't take domestic violence or violence in general lightly, but that is something that's a passion of yours.
Absolutely.
And the Jackson GOP just recently endorsed Nicole Hughes for district court, and part of that was her passion for
Yes,
that.
she does have
and
that.
I know that you're relatively close with her, and I like that. You instead of just going through the motions on situations like that, you do your best to help the situation out.
Yeah.
And that can't be easy. you
No,
know?
I agree. Judge Hughes, when she got appointed and has come to Jackson, I've gotten to know her from the bench and gotten to watch how she works, and I have been very impressed with her. She really does have a passion for the domestic violence, and I know she spent her career
That's a groove for her
working
then,
them.
isn't
It
it,
is.
for
It
the-
is.
to have that?
Yeah, she spent her career doing it. Even more so than I have. I've spent most of my career doing kind of the child sexual assaults, which are side by side usually with domestic violence cases.
Sure.
But she's got a different skill set than even I would have, and I have been impressed with her on the bench. We'll see what happens this fall, but I have been impressed with her on the bench.
The caseload in general, but the caseload for, say, domestic violence, would you say is higher than average for Jackson County?
So in terms of our numbers themselves, yes. Now we are consistent with the rest of the state. Don't
Okay.
get me wrong,
Okay.
okay? But our numbers in the last 2 years have spiked drastically, and where they are spiking are in the domestic violence world.
And why do you think that is?
I think there's a lot of things at play. I think our law enforcement has gotten better at investigating them.
Okay.
I think they're doing a better job of talking to neighbors, talking to witnesses, so that if a victim decides they no longer want to go forward, but I have an eyewitness, I can still go forward
I
without
see.
that victim, right? So I think law enforcement has really embraced these ideas of these corroborating evidence and doing more detailed investigations. I also think people are reporting it more. Not that it's necessarily happening more. I think we're just reporting it more. I think people are understanding this isn't just a family issue. We don't just need to keep this in the family. We need to report this. We need to figure out what services are available and how we can help. And I think that in particular, CPS and law enforcement are working collaboratively together as well, and to provide some services for those homes that have kids in them. We know the cycle, and children that are raised in domestic violent homes are more likely to either be victims or perpetrators themselves when they're adults. So CPS has really done a concerted effort to impact that as well. But we are, across the state, we are seeing an explosion in domestic violence numbers. Our misdemeanors, which are your first or second offense domestic violence, went up, more than doubled from 2024 to 2025. And we are on pace to be higher than that even for 2026.
I hope that it's a law enforcement and is contributing to a big portion of that. I would worry that, what in society is making people more angry to lash out. Is it the economy? Is it what are the? Is it because it's a smoky day today?
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean?
And I will say, I know substance use disorder is
Substance abuse.
Yeah, we probably in Jackson have a higher percentage than maybe the state does for our substance use. I don't think there is a charge category that we charge more than a possession of methamphetamine. That is a really, really well used. Intoxicating substance in our community.
My family.
Yeah,
so,
and it's touched a
not-
lot of families.
Yeah.
But we see, the substance use disorder, and then a loss of inhibitions and
Sure.
a loss of, and then you get assaultiveness. And I'm not saying people who use are automatically assaultive, but there's some correlation to that.
Creates a situation that might make the perfect storm
Yes.
for
Yes.
issues like that. Very sad. And I wasn't going to go there today, but I would like your opinion on this. I think the opioid addiction, so heroin, fentanyl, that we see an explosion of, I think are not all, by no means, are homeless encampments that you see in every community. I think a lot of those types of people are included in that. And the reason why I say that, as a Leone Township trustee, I went with my ordinance officer just out of the blue, and we investigated a homeless encampment that had been going on for a couple of years on the east side of town, behind the Wendy's, the McDonald's, Performance Automotive, and this was massive.
Yeah.
So we probably wouldn't have known about it. It was in the wooded area, but it had caught fire.
Oof.
And then one thing led to another.
Sure.
And unfortunately, the ordinance officer had to find those business owners to clean up that mess.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think, well, why is it their fault? Well, they were responsible for monitoring their property and had not. But my point to bringing this up is when I was walking through this area with him, he was taking a lot of pictures. I took a lot of pictures too. I seen a lot of
Needles.
hypodermic needles.
Yeah.
And so I asked this. So for years and years and years, I think there were people that had an opioid addiction, but were functional in society because they could get a hold of Vicodins
Pills.
and pills like that a lot easier,
Yep.
either through
Yep.
a doctor or whatever
Sure.
the source was.
Sure.
And I say this because I knew some.
Sure.
They were somewhat functional in
Yeah.
society.
Sure.
And then that, rightfully so, it probably had to happen. That was yanked out. Okay, it's harder to get.
Much.
Turning those functional people into heroin users, which then took their addiction to a whole nother level to
Sure.
where they're not even functional in society.
Sure.
And then what's amazing to me is, we talk about the horrible effects of fentanyl. Well, addicts want the fentanyl.
Yeah.
But do you think a lot of our issues, whether it's domestic violence or my question was like the homeless encampments or the explosion of homelessness, do you think a lot of that has to do with that?
That's a great question. I don't know that you can pinpoint one thing, right? The one thing that I can say with that encampment that we currently have in the city, at least, we haven't had any warrant requests come from there, so I can't.
I wondered if
nothing.
I'm sure they're looking.
Right. We had one a simple assault and battery, two people kind of throwing punches at one another, right? That's the only thing that has even been remotely brought to our attention from the encampment. So what's going on there, I can't really opine on because I haven't seen anything. I think sometimes substance use disorders can contribute to homelessness, yes, in a general way. But I don't know. I think there's probably lots of things,
Sure.
at play. I don't know that we
It's
can
very, very
opine on
sad.
one. It is.
I've watched it. I'm not even the encampment, but I've watched it unfold in front of my eyes over the last several years to where, am I paying attention more? Or is it more out there? And I think it's more out there.
Yeah.
And just a sad story while we were back there, and we're talking a couple acres was just littered with stuff. And of course, the people that had been staying back there were mostly gone because of the fire.
Sure.
But as we're roaming around back there, taking pictures, minding our own business, and I was just in awe. And I'm not easily impressed, but I was like, wow.
Wow, yeah.
And out of the blue comes this woman, and she had this long, dark coat on. It was early spring. hair all messed up, and she just appeared.
Yeah.
And the ordinance officer, who is a retired Blackman public safety officer, and
Sure.
he works for the Napoleon Township.
Sure.
He was on. Russ, hold on.
Yeah.
He's seen her first.
Yeah.
And he did a really good job of going up.
Yeah.
How are you? Are
Sure.
you doing okay?
Yep.
Is there anything I can do to help you?
Yep.
And all this. And so I was just amazed talking to her briefly. And then she just turned around and disappeared.
Yeah.
And I was like, was this person even real?
She appeared and then disappeared.
Yeah, but you know what? She was eating a sandwich that she had gotten from the Speedway station, so she was eating, and I was impressed on how the ordinance officer dealt with it and legitimately cared about her welfare, and I think most law enforcement, that is the case.
We have such good law enforcement here in Jackson County. Man, you know,
I used to hate our cops. I love our cops.
Yeah, they work so hard to do the
I think
right thing.
policing has changed a lot.
Yes.
You know.
And you know, though, but I look at our leaders too.
I shouldn't
right?
say I hated them, but I'm
No,
just
but I
saying,
hear ya.
I just like them a lot.
But you know what,
better.
though? Our leaders right now, they're all out to do the right thing, right? You have Sheriff Schutte, you have Chief Simpson, you have Chief McIntosh, and First Lieutenant Rod for MSP, you know, and the smaller townships as well. But those four guys, I meet with them on a regular basis, and they're committed to doing things the right way. And when their people aren't, they hold them accountable.
Do you know how
what more can we
thorough
ask for?
McIntosh is to Leone Blackman Public Safety as a trustee in Leone? He gives us weekly updates on, and it's a lot.
Yeah.
Blackman Leone is a busy agency.
Sure.
But he comes to our meetings.
Yep.
You can ask
Yep.
whatever you want. And
Yep.
he will, it doesn't matter how many people, he will answer the question.
Yep.
I'm really like him a lot. We've been through a couple of directors since
Sure.
Mike Jester retired, and then the other one retired, and now we have McIntosh. So, but I'm impressed with Blackman Leone. You know, of course, Sheriff Schutte. I like Gary Schutte a whole lot.
He's great.
Runs a great agency. And then Chris Simpson. I'm glad he's the police chief.
He's
of Jackson.
fantastic. I mean, all those guys. I could rave about all four of them, if you will.
Yeah.
And the thing that I am most impressed of is when one of their people does something not great, they're the first ones to say, call a spade, right? They're not in the business of protecting their own. If they make a mistake, right, they're going to hold them accountable. Everybody's learning, everybody's growing, right? They want to see growth. They want to see, you know.
How about paperwork getting from the law enforcement agencies to the prosecutor's office? So if you take your years of experience, do you see that evidence, that paperwork coming to the prosecutor's office being better, the same?
No, way better.
Way better.
Way better.
Because that's a good way to ruin a case.
Absolutely. And there's so much stuff, you know, that if law enforcement doesn't do in that initial investigation, then we're out. We're not going to ever get that information back. And one of the things in 2025 when I took over that we were really big on is doing law enforcement trainings. And we still do them. We've done one this year already. We're due to do another one as well. And we talk to them, though, about if you want...
What you need.
What we need, exactly. And it would be easy for them to say, meh, I'm not going to do that. They're asking too much. But they've all embraced it. They've all said, oh, all right, if this is what the prosecutors need, then this is what we're going to do. And then their cases are getting charged. You know, so it's been a great working relationship with them. We were really able to sit down and explain, this is what we need, this is why we need it, these are the things that we can do when you get us this kind of information, and then they do, and it's really been great.
And it probably helps your office a little bit you come when we speak, you have staffing issues, and if the evidence can come to you the best form that it can be in, I'm sure it saves a lot of time on the prosecutor's office, not only the prosecution side, if it's a good case or not, but everything helps the workload.
Absolutely.
A little bit, you know?
Absolutely. Yes. You know, and the workload has just quadrupled per case now with all the electronic stuff, right?
Sure.
You've got body cams, you know, the officers all wear. You've got dash cams. You've got surveillance videos because everybody has a camera outside their building. You've got cell phone videos. You've got text messages. You get full phone extractions for locations and things. Like the amount of information that we get on each and every case now is just exorbitant. So it takes us a while sometimes to get through stuff.
No, that's phenomenal. you've said in the past you're always well. How is your staffing right now? Not on the attorney side. How about just your?
We're fully staffed everywhere right now.
You're fully staffed.
We are down
Which
one.
is first
Phenomenal.
good.
We are down one part-time victim rights advocate.
Oh.
Okay, so but outside of that, we are fully staffed. I have all my attorneys.
What's
I have all my
attributed
support
to
staff.
that getting to where you need it to be? Hard work on your part, or something's changed?
Yeah,
to...
I think there's a lot of things. I think we have found some people in our last couple of hires that are committed to being here.
Okay.
You know, that are either Jackson people or have moved to Jackson, ready to make Jackson their home. And so we don't get the transient as much, right?
Okay.
We get those that want to be here and want to stay here.
By the way, I'm born and raised in Jackson. Yeah. I'm a Jackson fan. If you did get somebody that was from out of town that took a job here, I don't know why they wouldn't want to stay.
You know, I agree. You know, we have my last 3 hires. One is a born and raised Jackson person. One is somebody who was kind of born and raised in like the Chelsea area. So,
same thing.
Same thing. They're close.
Right.
And then the third one is an out-of-state guy.
Okay.
But he and his wife have moved here, and they've, you know, they're embracing
You look
us.
at housing prices.
Yeah.
Availability is tough, by the way. I know that firsthand,
Sure.
but it's easier than a lot of communities.
Yep.
Parks, lakes,
Golf courses. I love golfing.
Courses, and, public schools.
Yep.
Yes, I have some public schools perform better than others.
Everywhere that happens.
But across the board, our public school system is doing a pretty decent job. And I'm not here to get critical on that because I can't.
Sure.
But they're doing a pretty decent job. It's just a better place to live than what some people try to give us the impression of.
You know, and it's so hard because, you know, you have the whole Drive Jackson
by the way, I was on that.
Look at
Drive
that,
Jackson,
yes.
group.
So that whole Drive Jackson thing, and, you know, one of the things that we got feedback on is this perception that it is dangerous to live in Jackson, right?
I've got something to say on that.
Yes,
too.
and you know, I do not want to negate anybody's thoughts or feelings or what they believe is happening, but I can tell you that the, you know, amount of violence that occurs is such a small amount of our community. It
Sure.
really is. You know, we sometimes get jaded in that we're like, oh, we see the same people over and over again, and you know, there's only so much we can do as one part of the system, right? We don't get to sentence people. We don't get to decide what's going to happen to them. I can only control the charge. And I get that feeling of Jackson is dangerous. But, man, there's a lot of really good people in Jackson doing really good things.
I say this. Okay, I know where not to be.
Fair.
Okay, born and raised here. I know where not to be. Not to say that I haven't been there over my years.
Yep.
Kevin's producing the show today. He knows the same thing. But those locations are not that many.
Correct.
I can leave Meyer. I can leave the Commonwealth Center 9, 10 o'clock at night. In the Commonwealth Center is adjacent to properties that's had some problems in the past.
Fair.
Without really concerning myself. Now, I have members in their 80s, and we make sure they get walked out. I would do that at my house.
No, I agree.
But the vast majority of Jackson County, listen, I'm a former corrections officer and a typical male. I always have my eyes open. But no, I always feel safe. If I'm somewhere where I'm not supposed to be, I'm somewhere where I'm not supposed to be.
Sure.
And there's no community, any city, or that doesn't have that.
Right. There are law
And those
enforcement
locations
and prosecutors.
are very few.
Yeah, there's law enforcement and prosecutors in every county, right? You know, and so because that need is there.
Yeah. So I'm glad we got on that. I love Jackson. I moved away for a short period of time when I was young, and I came back.
Yeah, me too.
And
you know, I could have chosen to go anywhere to raise my son, you know, and I chose to come back.
Look
to
at the lakes, and I live on one.
Yeah. I'm out in the Irish Hills area, so yes,
there's
I
a
hear you on
lake
the lakes.
everywhere.
Everywhere.
When I was a kid, you know, I lived briefly on the outskirts of Brooklyn. Actually in Norville Township.
Sure.
And I literally lived on a lake with 2 houses, and the lake didn't even have a name.
Yeah. Yep.
There's lakes without names.
Yep,
That's how many
yep.
lakes there are.
Yeah.
It was
I
a
mean,
great fishing lake.
I am within 5 miles of probably 5 different lakes from my
Yeah,
house,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
so.
And I live on a chain of them, so
yeah, yeah.
so I love Jackson. I'm glad we went. That's my favorite part of today's show.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
And I will talk about Drive Jackson.
Sure.
I'm honest about it, and Ryan even knows this
Yeah.
from the chamber. I wasn't super pleased with the county and the city writing $100,000 checks to launch it.
Fair.
I'm one of those guys, and I was like, well, if it's so important, then they can raise their own money. So out of spite, I said, I'm signing up.
There you go.
Right, I'm going to sign up and
I'm
be
gonna make
on
my
this
voice be heard.
Drive Jackson board. And I didn't think I'd get picked.
Yeah.
And I got picked.
Sure. I didn't get picked, by the way, so you're.
Good. Proudly, I got picked. I did get picked over 100 applicants. I
Yep.
think they picked 35 of us,
Yep.
and they picked me. And I remember going to the first meeting, and let me tell you, it is a mixed bag
Yeah.
of people. From the mayor of the city of Jackson to Chairman Shotwell to the Grow Jackson young man.
Yep.
And just
Jacob Incencio.
the chairman of the Republican Party, you
Sure.
know, just a big mix. And this is what the Drive Jackson people did it. And I think a lot had to do with Ryan. He broke us up in tables, and I was at a table with Mayor Mahoney and all these people. But this is what I boils down to, Kelsey. Mayor Mahoney and I don't agree on political stuff.
Sure.
Okay. Guess what? We're both born and raised in this
You
town.
want what's good for our
and,
community.
And have the same goal.
Yeah.
Here we
Yep.
really do, and it really broke the ice. I looked forward to every meeting, and I'm proud of the work we've done. I am skeptical on
Inflammation?
if it's inflammation, and but you have to start somewhere.
I agree.
And so, not still thrilled with government
money.
having to throw. Yeah, what's $100,000?
Yeah.
The chamber and everybody involved is running with it the best they can.
I agree.
And I don't.
And I trust Ryan, so
I do too.
Right? He's just so good at that.
I was proud to be on that group, and
Yeah.
I'm glad I beat out the prosecutor.
You did.
On that.
You did.
I got picked on because of the Leone.
Sure.
Side.
And that was I remember Ryan had said, that we're based on population and things,
Sure.
we needed people from each area, and I had called him and I said, look, don't feel like you have to pick me just because I have a title here.
You got things to do.
I do have things to do. But I had also just gotten off the board for Family Services and Children's Aid. I had just time limited out of that board, and so I was looking for something else, and I thought that fit. But as you know, I have plenty of irons in the fire over here,
especially
so.
right now.
Right
and we
now,
don't need to talk
indeed.
about that. I don't know if that needs to be broadcasted, but wow,
Right.
Kelsey, wow.
Yeah, they're fun.
So,
Can we talk juveniles for a few minutes?
okay, let's do that.
Love it. Because, we talk about safety, and our juveniles in our community are some of the most unsafe, unfortunate individuals right now,
Interesting,
right?
too, yeah.
And we, the science that we know around brains, when they're not fully developed, and that prefrontal cortex, the decision-making part of your brain, we know science-wise they're not fully developed. And so it makes then these 14, 15, 16-year-olds that have guns even
Especially
more reckless.
boys.
Especially boys.
I've raised a handful
Yep.
of them.
And especially reckless, right? Now they have firearms and they don't understand the consequences and the lasting effects, So we've worked really hard for about the last 6 months-ish in revamping our juvenile probation program. That includes more incarceration at the youth center, and that includes more programming, and that includes trips to the hospital to go learn what bullets do to a body, and that includes, a conversation with a mom who has lost their child due to gun violence and what that has done to her life, and trying to impart on these young people, mostly young men, that these actions have serious consequences before they get to the serious ones,
Sure.
right? We're doing this with somebody who is caught with a gun for the first time, trying to impart on them before they're discharging it, before they're shooting at people. And we've got, upwards of 12 plus kids now in kind of this program or waiting to start with the program. And so we're hopeful that that's going to start to make an impact on some things. We're trying a couple different routes. I've also been charging a whole lot more people as adults when I can. The law requires somebody be 14 for me to be able to charge them as an adult. So if somebody commits a crime under the age of 14, I am barred. I have no discretion. The law does not allow me to charge somebody under the age of 14 as an adult. So there are other things that I can do with them if they're under 14, but I cannot make them an adult.
And it's not like you're in a hurry to charge them as an adult.
No.
But serious offenses like murder.
Correct.
Right.
As we have, I have a young 13-year-old charged with homicide. And there was a lot of clamoring of make him an adult and put him in prison for the rest of his life. And the law doesn't allow me to do that. And I contemplated it because I went and looked and I thought, well, if I can make him an adult, we'll probably go that route. This was an adult decision. But the law doesn't allow me. The law puts a bright line rule at 14. And if you are not 14, I cannot make you an adult.
Can that 14-year-old, in your opinion, be fixed? Is there a chance at all?
I think some. Mm-hmm. I think some can. I think some we've already missed the boat. Sure. I think some, that ship has already sailed. I think some 14-year-olds are redeemable. I think it just depends.
You would hope so.
Right. I think it depends. And I think it depends on, usually we charge somebody and then they have a period of bond, right? And so usually in that month to 6 weeks, we can see, is this kid using this as a coming to Jesus moment?
Or back out doing their thing.
Or it's just another step, right?
Yeah.
And so usually in that 4 to 6 weeks, we can tell what kind of a kid do we have in front of us and what kind of parents do we have? Do we have parents that are going to hold these kids accountable at home, or do we have parents that are like, it's just another Tuesday, and they're going to be back out there because they were never taught anything else?
How many teens, parents have criminal past to begin with?
That cycle runs deep.
The cycle runs deep.
Yeah. And some of our programming in the juvenile world requires parents' involvement. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that is the detriment to getting these kids services, is that we can't get the parents to be involved.
So Kevin and I were talking before the show, and you're somewhat familiar with my youngest son. And he has always been a handful.
Sure.
He is large. He's not afraid. He has a temper. I do too. My dad does too. I contain it better than all of them.
Yeah.
And
growth is incredible.
But we were talking, and then my sons lost their mother when they were young.
Yeah.
And we're primarily raised by grandma, although I was an around dad.
Yeah.
But respect.
Yeah.
And we were just talking, it's been since he was a middle teenager, there's a possibility he could have taken me.
Sure.
Never once come close.
Yeah.
Out of respect.
Yep. Nope.
Now, he also knows that my temper, I'd run him over with the car. I'll get him one way or another. But even as a young adult now, he's getting to be an older adult now, it's still there, and so that lacks.
No, I agree
a little bit. And we were talking about one time, I was in my early 30s, and I was a corrections officer, and I'm a large man.
Yeah.
When I was in my early 30s,
Sure.
you can't stop me, corrections officer. I remember going toe to toe with my dad.
Yeah.
We had some issue. First time I were face to face.
Sure.
And I remember being scared to death.
Uh-huh.
I worked maximum security.
Sure.
I have dealt with the meanest people there is.
Yeah.
I have never been so scared in my life. Out of that respect.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And
when we
how do
sometimes
you build
see,
that?
Exactly. And we sometimes see that parenting tries to start when the kids start to rebel at 14, 15. And it's like, man, if you've not built those relationships, you can't start parenting at 15. That doesn't work,
Yeah.
So, again, I look at different programming. Family Service and Children's Aid does a lot of really great programming, especially for dads. They have a dad's program that is designed to help dads learn more parenting skills and to be in the homes more and trying to...
I have a suggestion for dads that are in their children's lives. The more distance you get from your children's lives, the harder it is to return.
I agree.
But once you make that huge step, you look back, it's easier than you think it would have been. I've been in this situation to where I'm like, well, I haven't seen him in a month, and now I'm feeling funny about going over there. No, if you just do it.
Suck it up and do it.
Do it.
Be the adult.
It's the right step, and it's easier than what your mind tells you think it is.
Sure, absolutely.
So, and same thing
Absolutely.
with mothers. Any family member for that.
Any parents, I agree.
For the
I agree.
case. So,
yeah. So we're working hard on the juveniles. We understand that that's an issue, and they're contributing a lot to the gun violence. But
I have a question
Yeah.
on the juvenile detention center here in Jackson. I asked the sheriff, I think it was the sheriff, if it's a capacity issue or not. Although I read the activity reports for the sheriff's department of the city, and of
Sure.
course the Blackman Leone ones, and I often say Jackson County Youth Center would not lodge.
Sure.
It seems to me the city, although they probably have more contact with this, it seems to get more successful people to the juvenile detention center. What determines that?
Yeah.
Is it a bed issue? Is it a severity of whatever that crime might be issue?
That's more of what it is, the severity. So there's actually like a point system, if you will. And some charges are what we call auto-detain. So if you commit one of these charges, it's an auto-detain. The youth center has to take you.
I see.
And then the rest of the charges are kind of this point-based system. Now, one of the things that we've worked really hard, and again, with all this collaboration that we've done for revamping our juvenile probation, the youth center has been at the table, and they've been really, really helpful. And they continue to say, you have to be communicative with us, right? If you've got person who's committed their 9th retail fraud in the last 4 days, but you don't call us until number 9, well, we can't have
the
that
points.
tracking.
You don't have
we don't have those points.
Right.
Call us on number 1.
I see.
We're not going to lodge them,
You
but
could
call us.
You could see a lot of officers saying, "Well, they're not going to lodge over this."
So I'm not going to call.
To do
right.
it.
And that's the thing. And so
Right,
that's really
right.
our message, what we've been sharing with law enforcement, and I think they're starting to embrace it more.
Okay.
Make the phone call. Make the phone
And
call.
so a lot of times when I might read youth center went lodge, that because it could be the beginning of that
Correct.
process.
Exactly.
I
So
see.
maybe they've made the phone call. They're starting to
Okay.
document it at step 1 of that, and on the 5th phone call, the youth center's like, okay, yep, we're going to override this. You still don't have the points, but you've called us 5 times in 7
Okay.
days. We're going to override and we're going to detain. But most of the youth center is
Is that
for,
a good place for programs?
It's a great place for programs. It really is.
Right, if they get to the youth center, that's a good place to start.
Yep. Because the
rehabilitation.
juvenile, exactly. The
Real
juvenile,
rehabilitation. We're not just throwing them in there, lock them up.
Correct. The juvenile system is built on rehabilitation.
Okay.
It's not a punishment system, right?
Yeah.
The adult world has 4 factors to consider, and punishment is one of them. Punishment, deterrent to society,
Sure.
Rehabilitation, and I'm forgetting the 4th one. But though there are 4 factors for adults. Juveniles, it is all rehabilitation.
And
so
that would be statewide.
that is.
Right,
It is.
right.
It is set by SCAO. It is set by legislatures. Like, that's the system. And so there's actually all of these assessments that have to be done when the juvenile comes in, what kind of programming would benefit this juvenile, what all these programmings look like. And the youth center is step 1, and they've got some programming as well. But even if they are just detained at the youth center, they're still getting programming. They have to go to school. They have to get up. They have chores. They have this and that. They give them a lot of structure. And honestly, a lot of our kids thrive at the youth center because it's the
Good.
first time they've had structure. It's the
Yeah,
first
that's
time,
true.
that they've
and
got.
you know what? All right. I used to work in a business that the people that worked in that business always, Kevin, you're going to laugh. You're not on the show today. The people that worked in that business always claimed they don't want authority or structure. But as soon as it's not there, they really want the
Exactly.
structure.
And kids in particular, right? They need structure. They want structure. They don't know they want structure, but they
That-
want
They
structure.
do. Once they see it,
Yeah.
a routine.
Yeah.
And
I don't have to guess where I'm supposed to be or guess what I'm supposed to be doing. I know.
And a lot of times, though, is guess. Although if you've been raised in it, you don't know anything difference. You're always on eggshell what the day might bring.
Right.
Your most functional families is probably a pretty routine as best as possible.
Sure.
Any family isn't routine.
No,
But
for
there's
sure.
a routine,
Yeah.
and I think that probably helps a lot. Where unfortunately a lot of children, and this isn't anything new. It might be worse or seem worse now, but there's always been that family that routine isn't there.
It's not part of the
I
system.
grew up in a rural subdivision, and we had that one family that
Sure.
was always a hot mess.
Yeah, for sure.
And actually, I loved hanging out with them
Yeah.
boys down there. My mother hated it.
Right,
But
for sure.
that's where you
For sure.
you can get away with the fun stuff. In the
Yeah, you
garage
had all
and
sorts
stuff
of
like
fun
that,
over there. Yep,
so,
yep, absolutely.
But now I often think about. I've said this before on the show a lot of times. Maybe this is what's missing. Maybe I'm way off, being old and in a rural Jackson County guy. My dad used to bring home dead deer, and him and his buddies went out hunting, and they would bring home the dead carcass.
Sure.
Dead rabbits, dead pheasant.
Sure.
And you started to learn death.
Sure.
Okay. And we, by the way, you've got a commercial out. I don't even want to talk about that, but we had availability of guns, loaded guns, easily accessible since I can remember on the gun rack. And I used to, jokingly, but it's true, I used to steal his change, his beer, his weed, on and on, whatever.
Never touched.
Never touched them guns.
Never touched.
Never touched them guns. Now, I was a young 12-year-old, and we went out and shot guns.
Learned how
so
to.
You
learned how to be safe.
The safety of them. And then we've often talked on this. I went to a school, being old, where our shop teacher would encourage you to bring your shotguns to shop class, and he taught us how to reblue our shotguns.
Okay.
So it was part of our life, and I often wonder if maybe some level of that shouldn't return. Marcy Jankovic hosted this show a while back with Dina Morgan. And who isn't, she's not a young lady, but her community didn't understand weapons are always bad. Always bad. And it was interesting to watch Marcy and somebody in this regard. And if you're going to learn
firearms,
Marcy's
the one.
It. That was a great show. It
Marcy
really
is it.
was.
She just wrote that great article. She sent it to me that she was published all about firearms and.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Oh, it was great.
I hope I didn't ignore it.
No, well,
she might have sent it to me.
It was really well done. She did a really nice job with it.
What an advocate of guns and gun safety.
But gun safety, right? She does it the right way, I think, right? And she's like, look, we don't need more
she advocates education, not legislation.
Correct. And also, let's enforce what we have. And if everybody enforce what we have, we would be a safer community.
Yeah.
So.
Anything else before I cut you loose? And
Man,
you
I don't think so.
Go lock up bad guys for the day.
Yeah, go back to the office.
Yeah.
I've got some victim meetings set up for a homicide I'm trying later this summer. So.
I appreciate you being on the show. I appreciate you being a friend of mine.
Absolutely.
I appreciate the contributions that you give to the Jackson GOP. You're not a loyalist, but you give great contribution,
I try to be.
and you're always there for us.
Yeah.
I appreciate all that.
Well, thank
and
you.
Thank you very much for coming on the show
Thanks
today.
for having me. This was good.
You might have been, by the way, this is only my fourth or fifth show. You might have been my funnest guest so far.
I love it. I'll take that.
Thanks for being on, Kelsey.
Awesome.
And
thanks for having me.
thank you for being our prosecutor.
Thank you. I'm really enjoying it.
By the way, one quick thing.
Yeah.
Thank goodness we're not running campaigns right now.
Oof. Oh, so this 100-degree heat. And I mean, I'd be outdoor knocking in it because I was outdoor knocking everywhere. But holy moly.
Our terms are 4. Yours is 4. Mine is 4, thankfully.
Yep.
And then, thankfully, County Commission, this is their first term where they're 4 years.
Yes.
Normally, we'd be doing that every 2 years. And I'd have county commissioners on my plate. So we shift gears in 2 years, and we go help the prosecutor and the sheriff and the county commissioners and my own seat.
Gary and I are in the same.
I'm glad I'm helping others and not worrying about myself.
Take a deep breath this year.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
July is a very busy month for the Jackson GOP. I'm going to recap kind of what we did real quick over the last couple of weeks, and I'm already forgetting now that I'm sitting here. There's been so much. But we've had just the other day an awesome Ignite the Impact precinct delegate meeting with Lance Griffin from 10X Votes. He has been running around the state for I don't know how long, 9 months, pitching 10X Votes and the importance of 10X Votes. And I got to tell everybody, it's free, it's easy, and everybody can do it. You don't have to be a political guy like me. I encourage you to just jump onto 10xvotes.com. You enter your name, simple little password, and then you can identify people in your neighborhood, your friends, family, neighbors, of what we call low propensity voters. And low propensity voters are known Republican voters who have voted less than half the time since 2016. And the reason for this is we need people to vote. We need you to get out during this upcoming primary and vote for your favorite candidate for governor. I don't care who it is. I do have my favorite, but that's my business. And then after the primary, when we figure out who our Republican nominee is for governor, I need everybody to get together and help get that person elected so we can get our state back on track. But 10xvotes.com, I ask you, just jump on it real quick. Identify 10 people on 10X Vote that you can contact and say, hey, Aunt so-and-so, how can I help you vote? Why, I'm like, why are you a loser and not voting? You don't have to take that approach, okay? Just encourage people to vote. We have to get out the vote. That's how Democrats have been defeating us in the past. And then Lance always says, and I agree with him, and encourage those people to get on the permanent absentee voter list. And let me explain to you how that is. And my election integrity people out there really get nervous when we talk about this. But what it is, you can go on the Secretary of State website and apply for it, or, in my opinion, call your local clerk and say you want on an absentee voter list. He or she will send you, every time there's an election, your ballot. Whether it's a millage, doesn't matter. Anytime there's a time to vote, it'll come to you in your mail. You take your time at your kitchen table, fill out your ballot, do your research, and then if you're not comfortable with mailing it in, you can return it to your clerk. You can bring it on Election Day or during the 9 days of early voting and stick it in the machine yourself. So 10xvotes.com. But that was an awesome event. I think it was attended by 50 people or so, and Lance gave a great presentation to where he literally had people pick up their smartphone and log on and pick out their 10 people. And then right prior to that, on the Stick to the Plan podcast, the Russ and Kevin podcast, I couldn't make it. I had a township meeting, but Kevin hosted Lance on the Stick to the Plan podcast, and I believe they did the same process on that show. So you can catch the last episode of Stick to the Plan podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. I'm going to say this. I think this show will be put out on July 27th. July 30th, the Jackson GOP is hosting a business roundtable co-hosted by State Representative Julie Alexander. And what we're doing is inviting local business leaders, small, large, it doesn't matter, local business leaders to the beautiful Jackson GOP headquarters. And we're going to feed them lunch. And we're going to ask, what can the Jackson GOP and what can Kathy Schmaltz in the state legislature do for you to help your business? The Jackson GOP really wants to embrace this. I think we throw the impression out, rightly so, that the Jackson GOP is always asking what you can do for the Jackson GOP. I really want to turn the table as the chairman and say, what can the Jackson GOP do for our business leaders in our community, whether it's better access, easier access to your legislatures or county commission, your township people. But that first meeting is July 30th. I think it's at noon. We're going to feed some yummy lunch. And if you've never been to an event at the Jackson GOP, we usually always order something in or something like that. But we have some fabulous volunteers that make things like rice pudding and yummy desserts and shrimp cocktail. We had shrimp cocktail the other day. Our volunteers do a wonderful job at dressing it up and making it yummy. So that's free to attend. I don't know if there's a registration process or not. I think you're supposed to just go to jxngop.org, which Kevin will do and our producer will do, and we'll go event by event. By the way, it's been very difficult to keep up our website with everything going on, but we try very, very hard to keep it updated, get things off there that have passed us, and promote things that are coming. I'm missing something here, Kevin. Oh, I do want to say all candidate yard signs will be available, I'm going to safely say, by Well, okay, since this airs the last Wednesday of the month, all candidate yard signs are available. So whether you're looking for the governor, Republican governor candidates, Perry Johnson, Mike Cox, or John James, those yard signs are available. Come up to the Jackson GOP headquarters. You can catch our hours. We're here almost every day. On jacksongop.org. Come on up here, and all you got to do is give us your name and email address, and off you go with the yard sign of your choice. We also have yard signs for people coming up for the November. By the way, our producer Kevin is bringing up our endorsed candidates. What you're seeing there on the screen right now is all of our endorsed candidates. And it's easy to do. So some of these are already our nominees because they didn't have primary contenders. So they automatically become our endorsed candidates. But there are a few on there. The Jackson GOP has endorsed Nicole Judge Hughes. She's a sitting district court judge. We have endorsed her in the November election. We have endorsed... I can't see it on there, and I always forget. Jared Hopkins in the other district court judge race. Those are nonpartisan races, and we went out on a limb and endorsed those two for that. In the upcoming primary election for the city of Jackson, the only thing you're voting for in the city of Jackson is for the mayor's race. There are 5 candidates. We have come out and endorsed John Wilson for Jackson City Mayor. You will vote for your preferred 2 candidates. Well, you'll vote for one, and the top 2 vote getters in the August primary will be the nominees for the November city of mayor elections. The Jackson GOP has endorsed John Wilson, and many of you are already familiar with John Wilson. He does his own show, although it's been a while, on this very network. We'll call it a network. He does his own show, Hits Home Jackson. You can catch up on previous episodes of Hits Homes Jackson on jacksongop.org, along with several other podcasts outside of the network. At the very bottom of the webpage, instead of remembering, hey, I want to watch the Right Side podcast from Livingston County, you can't remember how to get there, you go to jacksongop.org, go to our podcast section, and click on Right Side Podcast. And that is hosted by my friend, the chair of the Livingston County Republican Party, Deb Drick, and that is the Livingston County podcast. And there's a list of them right there. We just probably take a couple of them off, which I'll get with Chris, and add a couple. But that is a real, by the way, check out Perithian Action one day. Oh, man, is that something. I'm just looking at the website here. You'll find that jacksongop.org is a very informational website. But anyways, yard signs and business roundtable coming up July 30th right here at Jackson GOP headquarters. I think I'll sign off. Thanks for watching. Next month, we'll have probably a different host. Chris Baird. I don't know. Maybe we'll do Dave Jones or somebody like that. And we'll come up with a good guest. More than likely, it might be a candidate going into the general election, since that would be the post-primary August show. So, but jacksongop.org for all their information. And thanks for watching.